Easy to find and are easier to work with via Word 2010's navigation pane. In order to get ready to see what the navigation pane will actually do for us, let's take a quick review of this document. It's called Training Proposal, and you can find it in your Chapter 4 Project Files folder. If I look down at the status bar, I can see that it's actually 7 pages long, so it's not tremendously large, but big enough that it could be difficult to find content. If I kind of begin to scroll through, I can see that I have things like objectives. And then I come down to the second page, and there are a couple of tables, one for delivery methods, one for ILT delivery models. As I continue to scroll, I can see different sections for computer-based training, some different things like investments, other training options, system requirements, and we finally get down to desk-side training, on-site types of training, and then a couple of appendices, one for system requirements, and finally on the last page, some course pricing. I'm going to go ahead and press Control Home to get back to the top of my document. And now I'm going to display the navigation pane. Because 2007 and 2010 are fairly intuitive, it's probably not difficult to figure out how I would view something. Gave you a little hint there. I'm going to go to the View tab, and we see that there is a check mark specifically for the navigation pane. Just as a reminder, this is also how we can turn grid lines on and off on the document if you're concerned about precise layout, and also how we can display the ruler. A lot of people really struggle to find the ruler. Right now we're interested in the navigation pane, so I'll give that a check, and we can see it on the left-hand side, although this panel can be moved around. It may look very familiar to you, like the Research Task pane or the Clipart Task pane. There's lots of things that look like it, but it's really a new thing to look at and has some very interesting features. First of all, we can see that there is a drop-down arrow, and the drop-down arrow, of course, means that we can do different things with it. In this case, this particular arrow is just about moving, sizing, or closing. It also has a close button. Then I can see that we have search capabilities. I can perform incremental searches right in my document without having to do anything extra, or even without having to do a lot of configuration. Although, as I'll show you in a second, there are some options that we can set. Now, we know that this is for the You Got It training company. But let's just say that I'm not that specific about what I want to find. I'm going to type in the word GOT, G-O-T. As we see with so many of the current features of Windows and Office, it really kind of starts to search even before I'm done typing. When I come up with GOT, it says it found 11 matches. And now I can begin to look at the different tabs. There's really 3 different views that we can work with within the navigation pane. The first one is going to be simply by headings. And here we can see some things that we just saw in the document. Features, benefits, reporting, investment, those types of things. I also can click the middle button, which gives me a thumbnail view. And lastly, I actually have the results for my search. This might be a good place to start. Since I've searched for a specific word, or at least a combination of letters, GOT, I know there are 11 matches. I can now see in context what it found. If I pause over it, for example, I can see the first one is on page 1, the You Got It training company, and it's nice enough to highlight where it found the word. If I continue on, I'll find that it actually will use the same one over again because You Got It shows up in the very next sentence, actually just a few words later. If you want to see more of the search results in combination and in context, you can always look at the document itself. We can see here that the search results are highlighted in the actual document as well. So this is a standard search, and I don't want to spend a lot of time telling you how to search because that's a kind of a universal skill that I think everybody's pretty familiar with. But I did want to show you that to the right of the text box, we can click on the X to clear it, or that will turn into a magnifying glass if we want to search. And there's a little drop down, and this is where we can find things like options. Again, these are some that are fairly common with different types of find and replace features. Matching case, finding the whole words only using wildcards. So you can come in and configure this, very similar to doing the old find that we used to do within a document. In addition from this drop-down, there are some other things, including the full find, including replace. We can find go to, we can use a find feature using a text box, and we can even do the equivalent of browse by object or go to types of objects like graphics, tables, equations, headers and footers, and so forth. Since I know that there are some tables in this particular document, I'm going to choose tables to show you how this one works. Now instead of seeing 11 results, we see 3. You also will notice that my document scrolled down to page 2, which happens to be where my first table is. Of course, it also happens to be where my second table is as well. But once again, we don't see the results here, but if I go to something like the thumbnail view, this is going to make it a little bit easier. It's only showing me 2 pages, page 2 and page 7, and remember that page 2 has 2 tables, so that's how we get to our 3 entries. So it's pretty nice to be able to search very quickly through the document by words, parts of words, things that sound like other words, wildcards, and even types of content. If I want to get rid of this, of course, I can click the X to remove the search features. Now we've talked a little bit about what these different views are, but I want to go back to the Browse by Headings for just a second. If we take a close look at this, we can see that we not only can see these, but we also can use them to navigate. So if I click on Features, it's going to take me directly to that heading, which happens to be on page 3. If I go to System Requirements, likewise I can bounce around very quickly. And that's why this becomes really beneficial in longer documents. I work with a lot of attorneys, for example, where documents can be very long and very complex, and it gets really hard to figure out where exactly one section starts and stops. Likewise, in a term paper or thesis, we should have a structured document with clearly defined sections and headings, so this tool would make proofing and editing a breeze. Even business people who work with business plans, contracts, or employee handbooks, all of which are lengthy and have a similar structure with sections and hopefully proper formatting, can benefit. As long as you're using headings and you're using styles, you will be able to use this feature to quickly move through your document. But you know what? It's not just about moving through the document. You actually can use the navigation pane to reorganize your document. Let's say for just a minute that I want live internet-based training to be below system requirements. Did it occur to you that maybe I can just drag and drop? Well, guess what? I can. I'll press and hold my mouse on live internet-based training. I'm going to drag down. We see kind of the bolded horizontal line that shows me where I'm going to drop it. And if I let it go, I have just completely swapped all of that content. Now that could be just a heading, or it could be a paragraph, or it could be 500 pages. Word really doesn't care. It simply takes all of the content that's underneath that particular heading level and moves it where I tell it to go. That can be a great time saver, especially if you've ever tried to click and drag to select multiple pages of text and gotten into that zoom eek thing. And by that I mean you click and drag down and zoom, you're all the way on page 50, so you stop. Eek! Then you go, okay, I'm going to go back up to the top, and you zoom up. Wait a second, you spend 20 minutes zooming up and down on your screen, not getting anything accomplished. Trust me, it's a lot faster, a lot more efficient, and a lot less frustrating if I can simply press and hold my left mouse button, drag a section where I want it to go, let go of it, and I've just rearranged content. You may have noticed that there's a set of up and down arrows as well. You can also work with the previous and next headings by using these. So all kinds of little tools that we can see. Don't forget your right click, because if you right click on a heading, once again you see different options. I can promote a heading or demote a heading. For those of you familiar with the outline view, this is where all of this functionality comes from, but now I'm still within the main view of my document. I can put new headings before, new headings after, new subheadings. I can delete sections. I can select a heading and all of its contents. I can even print just a heading and its contents. So imagine that. If I'm trying to work through maybe proofing of a document, maybe I have a training manual and I want somebody to look at a specific chapter or module. I don't have to go in, figure out where it starts and where it stops. I can simply open the navigation pane, click on the section I want, and say, print that, whatever it may entail. 1 page or 50 pages. I hope you're getting as excited about this as I am. I'm going to go ahead and press Escape just to get out of this menu. And the last thing I wanted to mention is, even though I'm not doing it right now, if there are co-authors, you can easily identify their content by a co-authoring indicator that will show up on these headings as well. So the navigation pane is a great way to get an overview of your document, to more easily understand its structure, to find content within it, and even to arrange it, all from one easy-to-use pane. But what I know is a lot of people never actually look at the View tab. So if you haven't ever looked there before, take a quick look. There's lots of interesting things. But in 2010, one of the newest things is the introduction of the navigation pane that I think you'll find useful if you ever work with anything more than about 2 or 3 pages long, and especially if you use styles and headings appropriately.